Oh, look at that. I'm actually quick on the updraw today. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. I'd say welcome to the table, but today we're kind of podcasting. I don't think there's really a table, there's more of a desk. Yes, I'm doing my 2D avatar before you ask. Yes, throwing things at me is disabled during the podcast because it's kind of hard to talk when you got a can or cheese in your face. Yeah, they'll be back for stream later. We will be doing D&D session with the one shot that Kai is running about an hour after we end this one, about 2 hours from now. Hi Beerus, hi Arzu. Thank you so much for the follow or the sub Arzu or Arzade. Arzadeu? There we go. My brain can totally speak English.
No, it can't. Don't lie.
Okay, I can never do English. English is a terrible language and it belongs in the bucket of shame. Better?
Yes.
And yes, I'm using my 2D avatar. Got Key with me today. Got Viv with me today and Vari. Not as their D&D characters, but as themselves. I mean, I can speak Draconic, but nobody here would understand me at all. I do also have my backup can of water for when I run out of water during this discussion because y'all wanted to hear me go off, so you're gonna hear me go off. Well, kind of, sort of. How's everybody doing though?
I'm all right.
I exist.
I'm okay.
How about chat? Chat doing good? I hope chat's doing good. They'll respond. No chat on screen today. But I did one fancy thing today. I was considering doing a slideshow, but I don't have the time to be doing a slideshow. So we'll just put that up.
I don't think that I don't think the chat needs death by PowerPoint.
No. I do enough PowerPoints for work, so. But y'all, or a couple of you wanted to hear me kind of rant and talk about the OpenGL situation that recently happened with Wizards of the Coast, why I was scared. I did make some comments on Twitter, though I kind of kept relatively quiet there. I didn't throw up as much of a stink as one would expect me to in most cases. Unfortunately, being such a small channel, my voice means absolutely little nothing, and the bigger names out there in the streaming industry, as well as Paizo, Cobalt Press, and a lot of the other third-party publishers were very up in the air, so not like my voice would have really done anything to help there. I did a couple of posts, but by the way, I do have a Twitter. I don't advertise on this channel because I unceremoniously like and share things.
Lewd.
Yes, very lewd.
Disgusting.
At times. I think it's. I don't know if the bottler is actually here right now. I think I have him off. No, he's there. But on that note, there's a couple of main points that I'm going to go over. And when it comes to this OpenGL situation and what they tried to do, primary points are going to go over their ability to control the content. I am not going to talk about whether or not their ability to copyright the rules is legal or not. You can go watch Legal Eagle's video on that. I am aware he made a video. I am aware he said it wouldn't affect us small creators most likely, but I've got counterpoints to that. I think he missed a very large area of what other large companies like Wizards of the Coast has done in the past historically to YouTube and Twitch streamers, small creators specifically, citing Nintendo and Apple, if we want to go down those routes. I'm also going to talk about how this hurts the larger businesses out there, the kind of things that they did to the larger creators that other companies do that basically they're trying to open a door to, or it feels like they're trying to open a door to, and the this content is now ours policy, as well as some of their arguments for why they were doing all these things. So, apologize, maybe a little bit dry because I'm going to do a whole lot of talking, and these guys are just here to either comment or laugh at my stupidity.
So, regarding Legal Eagle, by the way, it would not be the first time I've heard a bad take from him. So
No, and I understand where he's coming from. He is a lawyer. He's got to stick to the legal points. It's just when it comes down to giant corporations like this and whether or not it's legal for them to do this, and this is probably one of my biggest arguments, it doesn't always matter what is legal and what's not. It's who's targeted. Because small creators like us, And even though I'm a blip, they'll probably never notice me, even if this did go through. But other smaller creators that are starting to get revenue and starting to gain traction can't afford to legally fight a giant company like WTC and Hasbro. So it doesn't matter if it's legal. They can't afford to fight it. They just need to have it on print and then try to force the charges. And that's kind of where the problem starts. So, yeah, he's a lawyer. So, and he's also not a D&D nerd or part of the community. So,
No.
he doesn't understand the smaller parts of that. I will also touch on the MTG at one point because somebody asked me specifically why I was kind of throwing shade about that. That's an entirely different animal, but I'll discuss that at the end. So, can you guys tell I do this partially professionally for a living at certain points? Because,
I can.
yeah, I have to talk with corporate bigwigs about technology they don't understand.
Oh boy.
Yay.
Isn't it your favorite?
I want to make fun of one of my, I'm going to call them a coworker, but I can't because that'd be talk about my real life.
Oh. Just
But
change names to avoid incriminating.
I will do their voice is the problem. And Lord Beers hates MTG because they hate the land system. Kind of understandable. There's ways to break it. So many ways to break it.
I mean, having a land/resource/MP system is fairly common for card games.
Yeah. But we'll definitely touch that subject at the end because that's also an entire bag of mess and that might take me a while to actually talk through. So, let's go ahead and start off with the main part of the OGL that got a lot of people in arms. Legal Eagle did point out that when it came to producing content for D&D, there was a threshold before you had to pay them in the paperwork. I don't remember if it was $750,000 or $75,000 a year in revenue before they took their cut, and I believe it is a 25% cut. I
think it was 75.
Yeah, it was.
The attempt was 75, and then they backed down and tried to make it 25, and nobody was going for it either.
Yeah, and the thing about that that idea is that feels like what Nintendo did, and I don't know how many people remember what Nintendo did about 7 or 8 years ago, during the early days of the Switch and just before it in the Wii U days. But what Nintendo was doing is they were going after any creator they could find on YouTube or Twitch. And if they were making money, they made them sign a contract where they had to give up 25% of their income to them to continue to stream their games and not say anything bad about Nintendo. If you want to hear somebody else talk about this situation, I know that the completionist, I don't remember his name, Dragon Allele, he does the Beard Brothers series, did a video specifically on the crappiness of this contract and how Nintendo was sending out DMCAs of people just playing Nintendo games and streaming it, or people that said something bad about Nintendo, or going to YouTube and Twitch and having their content taken down for quite a while. I believe those days are gone.
I know that Taigo is very opinionated on the Nintendo front of things, as far as because Taigo's a big fan of Nintendo products, kind of, but also is really upset about stuff.
Yeah, and I'm a Nintendo fan, but I'm going to criticize the crap out of Nintendo for this. Nintendo, back the heck off already. I mean, at least they're starting to listen to their fans and starting to, make their games a little bit better, but that's an entirely other animal that I could go on like an 8-year tangent on about how little they care about us sometimes.
Yeah.
And they care about their pocketbook. But I bring that up specifically because it's exactly how I feel about what this new OGL was aiming to do and what they could do. I was really afraid when I saw that new OGL that the first thing that they were going to do is they weren't going to go after the big companies out there, the ones that could really stand for themselves right away. They were going to start going after the smaller channels with just enough people watching their content to be getting an income and sending them DMCAs and
Then using
them
it as a precedent.
Yes. And well, that's a hill I'm willing to die on. When it comes to a group activity like this, it's not just me on the hook. It's Key, it's Viv here, it's Vari could also receive DMCA's because technically they're participating, and Taya. And I know Taya's main income is streaming. I've got a job, but
I'll throw
Yeah.
hands for free. Let's go.
yep, I will die on this hill. If they were to come out with it and then send me a DMC, I'd laugh and be like, okay, take me to court. I'm
but-
okay doing that, but
Some people don't have that privilege though. Is the big takeaway?
Yeah.
no.
The main thing is it's this very insidious way of them effectively getting their way and gradually ramping up what they do and what they can do by, using previous incidents as a precedent, like you said, in order
Yeah.
to just monopolize effectively.
Yeah. And I know in their thing, and I don't know if you guys heard this excuse, at one point in time, the reason why they said that they wanted to control their content, and this is either a bold-faced lie or a pathetic excuse, and I don't care which, that they wanted to control the content more tightly to reduce racism and homophobia and transphobia in the community.
I remember hearing that. That was hilarious. I laughed way too hard when I first saw that.
And
I remember
Wow.
seeing a meme about that, and it literally just it was the fucking Scooby Doo meme.
Do explain this.
Basically, it's the on the mask
Oh.
was the text printed, the whole like, oh, we just wanted to fight racism and homophobia, and the mask gets taken off, and it just says, our lawyers said to tell you this so you'd shut the fuck up.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Which I hate to say it, that's content control's not the way that you fight these things, because those people exist and they're not going to go away just because you waggle your finger at them and be like, no, this is ours, you can't have it. I don't know if you've noticed, the only way to fight racism, homophobia, transphobia is by empowering those people within the community and giving them a safe place. And you don't do that by just being like, we're protecting you. No, you got to kind of put us in the forefront. And I'm sorry, Wizards of the Coast, y'all have a bad track record in the gay community.
They have a horrible track record. It is just awful.
and shoving us in the corner, as it were, and pretending like we don't exist. And I can only imagine minorities feel about the same way. Not being a minority, I can't speak for them, but what was it? The brothers. There was a MTG card back when I played where there was two guys in a card that were really close, and everybody was like, "Oh, they're lovers," and MTG went out of their way to state that they're brothers. Very out of their way to exclaim, "These guys are brothers." So, yeah, you're not protecting us. I don't believe you.
It's like the historians going, "Oh, they were just really good friends."
who
echoes
adopted
in the
children,
background, really good
lived with each
friends.
other.
Yeah, part of the history of a lot of these big companies is a major factor in why I don't really like them now pandering to people. Like
'Cause
the
we know they're
whole
full of shit.
the whole like rainbow flag whatever thing with a lot of companies that have histories that are just garbage. I'm not willing to look past that history.
No, and I think it's I don't even know how to word this specifically, but honestly, from a gaming standpoint, the MTG community and the D&D community has had a very large change in reducing racism and accepting more of the other communities, the homosexual community and the trans community and the ace community, etc., etc. Mainly because there's just more of us more present, and it's more of the community's change. You're not going to drive that change, Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
You're just not. It's one of the reasons why I'm very, very openly gay on this channel and very, very openly asexual in this channel, is because I would feel disgusting not being that way in this space when I've seen the derogatory and the negative for being in this space literally so damn long. I don't want to do the math right now. I'll feel very old if I talk about how long I've been playing this game and part of these communities.
Long enough to be a most excellent DM.
Oh, thank you. I'm
Oh,
doing the heart symbol. You can't see it, but I'm doing it.
yeah.
So that kind of covers that angle of things to a certain degree. God, I lost my train of thought too. But moving on to kind of a secondary point to why I hesitated when this came out and I didn't like it very much, um, was the impact this could have on the larger creators as well. Or no, actually, let's hold off on that. I want to touch another thing that has to do with the community and another argument that D&D had put out about copywriting the rules or attempting to. Which, by the way, as far as I'm aware, it's not legal to copyright an idea or a concept. You can copyright images and specifics, but you can't copyright the concept thereof.
You are correct. They could not copyright the rules even if they tried.
I didn't verify this argument, but I do want to bring it up where they said, well, D&D's always been a community game where they create rules and then we bring them into the game, is a very true statement, and therefore none of the rules are yours, Wizard of the Coast. This is directly to you, Wizard of the Coast. You don't own these rules. We do because we made the rules. You own the logos, the design, and you print the books. We don't need you actually at all.
They
You
don't.
don't own the rules.
They don't even print all of the books.
Nope.
Eh.
They don't. And there's a lot of homebrew games and stuff. The rules get better because we play the game and we change the rules we don't like, and then you take those changes and you print them. You don't own these rules. D&D really does belong to the community. You just own the namesake, and we can call it something else. Just remember that. AKA Pathfinder, or in our case, Olarun, because that's the name of my world. Just so you trying to grab things that you just admitted aren't your creation and copyright them is fucking hilarious to me.
Yeah.
We didn't create these, but we own them now. That's what was that one YouTuber that tried to copyright a word? He tried to copyright not VTube
Oh,
videos.
there was there was like these two brothers. What were the?
I don't remember them, and maybe it's best we forget them. But they tried to. It's when people record their day to day lives and put it on YouTube. That's the word for that.
Oh, vlogging.
Yes, they tried to like copyright the word vlogging or something as theirs.
Oh, there was someone who tried to copyright.
Oh, the Fine brothers, I think, is the.
Whatever their names are. We don't care anymore. They failed.
Yeah, React Media LLC.
Yeah, but
Reaction videos, right?
oh god,
Reactors.
That's
that's sad.
it is.
Also, somebody tried to copyright like "let's play" as a term,
Mm-hmm.
which was ridiculous as well, and that also got thrown out the window.
So
I mean, how did that work out for them?
yeah, and the reason why the whole new OGL, as I said before, scared me though is because it doesn't have to be enforceable. It doesn't have to be legal. It has to be they could set the precedent and do it to the smaller creators.
Oh yeah, because it's just whether or not the platform will go along with it, not whether or not it's in any way actually like enforceable.
And we've
I mean-
seen YouTube and Twitter bend the knee to all sorts of companies. So
Yeah,
Exactly.
Thankfully, D&D is full of a bunch of contrary assholes. So they went, "Oh, we're gonna change it to this," and everybody went, "No,
But no.
you're a bitch."
well, and something else I should probably bring up. I don't. Wizard of the Coast doesn't care about the community. Let's just be honest right
No.
away. They don't.
Yep.
Hasbro certainly or sure as hell don't. I bet I can almost guarantee you. I haven't verified this, but do you really think the board of directors on Wizard of the Coast, any of them have ever played D&D or Magic the Gathering?
Absolutely not.
If you have, come on my podcast. Come contact me. My email. Well, I shouldn't say that here. Hit me up on my DMs on Twitch or on YouTube, because I will bring you on and we could talk about your D&D adventures. But that's beside the point. I think the only reason why this actually went away is because Paizo, Kobog Press, and a bunch of other third-party publishers all stood up together. Is like, no, we'll take this to court, bitch.
They were like, just try it.
I'm pretty sure if they didn't, we wouldn't be seeing 1A return the way it should.
It was basically
Actually,
And yes,
It-
Beerus, yes.
it's kind of funny. The whole their response with the giving away 5.0, I think.
Pandering.
Yeah, it's absolutely them just surrendering and they're not really a print company anymore at all. They're a gaming company. They're abandoning the print. They're just going to their online resources. That's what they're gonna make money off of.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, 5e. I play 5e. I'm in a 5e game. I don't like 5e. I think it sucks, and that is going to get me in trouble. But it's.
I mean, I like it, but at the same time, I find it really limiting.
That's the big problem with it. It's great for beginners. If you're a beginner, go play 5e for a little while. But do not fear the complexity that is 3.5e and Pathfinder, please, because you have so many more possibilities out there.
Oh, and if you want something to
it's so
start with and you don't want to deal with, Watka and Hasbro, Pathfinder 2e has a bunch of it's like really condensed down and simplified in the same vein as 5e while not being 5e at all.
Yeah, and it has some complexities. It's a little harder to understand. But at least it's not 4e. We don't talk about 4e here. Let's see.
There was no 4E. Close your mouth.
Shh. Beerus says 5e is the only things he experienced for 4 sessions. Then our session stopped because of this OGL news. Yeah, I mean, fair. Honestly, Beerus learned Pathfinder. I mean, there's actually a dozen other systems out there that are really simplified, that are really good. Recently, we tried a new system in one of my groups. I forget what it's called. Let me look it up. Hold on. I know I got the full file around here somewhere. Created by a gamer like us. Let's see.
It's the one where your entire character's on that one note card, right?
No, I created the note card games. Look up Sentiment. Very, very baseline. Very baseline. Still in works. If you're looking for other really easy games to get into, Monster of the Week, if you want something kind of more roleplay heavy. What is the other one I know of that we play bunch of?
If you want nonsense, go Exalted.
Yeah, Exalted is complicated, and you got to have a group that's willing to go, this is what we think this means, and go with it. Because Exalted is a bag full of ideas put into another bag full of ideas, and we don't know how it works. Savage World is fairly simple as well. Good things to go with.
On one hand, what I've heard of Exalted it makes me want to play it, but on the other hand, what I've heard of Exalted makes me also go, no.
Exalted and anything from that company is a bag full of, I don't know how to interpret this, so let's just ask the DM.
Roll the dice and see what happens.
It's amazing. I'm willing to run those games for you guys. Do you want me to make the City of Twilight game an Exalted game?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Aww.
That was quick.
I'm shutting that down now. I don't need my character to be stupidly complex.
But Lunar Exalted is like the best thing.
I'm aware of Lunar Exalted. We don't need to go that far.
Fine.
Aww.
Go on with your point, though.
As I was going to say, if you like mecha and sci-fi, Lancer is very easy to get into, in my experience. It has a lot of very ubiquitous terms and things that just... Yep, go on.
I love their program for building mechs.
Oh, C-Comp.
Yeah, they have a little program to help you build a character. So.
And that was built by fans, and they adopted it.
They went, that's a good fucking idea. And then they went, okay,
yep,
we're going to keep it.
It's really good. There's also Anime Campaign, or...
Epithet?
Well,
Epithet.
the original rule set is Anime Campaign, but we use the Epithet rules.
Big Eye, Small Mouth as well.
Yeah, but like Epithet, for instance, is super simplified, and it's a bunch of, do you want to be ridiculous and just have random fun?
I just need listeners to understand that if you said no to any of those questions, you're objectively wrong.
What?
Do you
Not
want to
wanting
be
to-
crazy?
Do you want to be ridiculous and have fun? And if you answered no, you are wrong.
I mean, Vari had an actual cat whose word was electron. Era got omission, and
Yep.
Viv played a Mundi who may or may not be an up and coming crime lord.
I was literally a Bond villain who could stop people from using their own powers by touching them, and I had a cat that could shoot lasers.
I was just there. My character's word was omissions, so I was whatever people thought I was, and I just made things not happen whenever I
That-
felt like it.
I'm sad that wasn't really recorded because that entire session was really ridiculous.
Why we can
I
always
had
have another
wonderful-
one shot.
I mean, yes, but I'd need to prepare it.
Yes, and we're not doing that today. We got a D&D one shot coming up afterwards, though, so we'll get to that. But let's go ahead and touch about how this is going to affect the big companies more so, and probably the reason why the big companies actually stood up. Let's be honest. And then we'll touch on the last base, which is content theft. But just touching on the big companies thing in general, and why isn't it's just how do I word that? Anti-competition and is a good word for how I feel about it. And the just give me money. It's a money grab. It
Greed
really,
and monopolization.
yeah. To put it squarely, I mean, you see what Ticketmaster's going through right now. It kind of feels like that, or what have you.
Wait, what? I'm not familiar with this.
Ticketmaster had an issue recently where the price of what was her name? A pop star. I don't remember which one because I don't care about pop. I listen to punk, metal, and grunge and techno and stuff, so this is way out of my wheelhouse. But they were selling tickets to a concert, and according to them, they got hit with bots, which made the price skyrocket. And they made all that extra money. They're dealing with Congress and stuff right now because they basically have a monopoly invested interest, and just with the way their system works is when more people buy tickets, the ticket prices go up. So
That's disgusting.
when they quote unquote
Wow.
got hit by bots, which let's face it, they're a giant company. If like I'm gonna bring up a website I probably shouldn't on this site. If Furfinity has a bot protection system that could stop DDoS attacks, Ticketmaster, a giant multi-billion-dollar company, should have a good protection against bots. So what happened was people went to go buy tickets on the release, and the prices just went up. And it's a great site for scalping, apparently, too.
Yeah.
So it gives me that level of monopolization vibes at the end of the day. Miley Cyrus? Was it Miley Cyrus? It might have been Miley Cyrus. That wasn't from chat. That's just me throwing out names until somebody says I'm right, which I don't think anybody here will.
I don't know. Yeah, sure. If that's what you say.
But it gives me that vibes. It's definitely a money grab. It definitely hurts smaller publishers too, because most publishers don't actually make too much money. It's an inclined thing. So to come to them and demand what little profit they probably make is kind of disgusting. And there's a bunch of publishers out there that aren't big, like Cobalt Press or Paizo or what have you, that print things as simple as modules or small little pamphlet books of rules and stuff for D&D, or at least used to. I think after 3.5 it kind of died down a significant amount because of the OGL and Paizo happened.
You still see some, like there's the Frog God games and whatever else, and the various things that have like Pathfinder random things.
Yeah, most of them moved to Pathfinder, so you don't see them as much for the D&D scape anymore. There's also the figurine printing business. This would have hit Hero Forge, for instance, which everybody's probably familiar with, because they make figures for quote-unquote D&D. They could have outstretched that argument, even though they just call themselves a gaming thing.
They could have,
Yeah, because-
but Hero Forge has been smart enough to rename certain assets so they can't get slapped.
Which is
Yeah.
really dumb that D&D owns the naming rights to certain monsters, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I don't mind that they own like the lore behind mind flayers as they made them, but the fact that basically nowhere else can use mind flayers now is ridiculous, and nowhere else can use displacer beasts, which is ridiculous. But Pathfinder has their own version of that, which is about as cool.
Yeah, it's just a game of jumping through hoops because once again, you can't own a concept, but you can own the namesake, which is still dumb that they're doing that. But
yeah.
that's my worry was is that it was going to go and hit a bunch of smaller publishers and companies and stuff like that. It was definitely going to hit Paizo and other companies like that, especially with the whole "oh, we're just going to overwrite what we said before" nonsense of it all. We retract our old, and now we're just going to go back and hit a bunch of people, which would have been a very large list of companies because a lot of people have dipped their hands into it once or twice. So, big problem there. Um, and we don't have to dwell on that because I'm not a big company. So, if they can fight their own battles, which they obviously did because they all stood up and said "fuck no." But let's touch on the content theft part. And I know I brought this up earlier where D&D said, well, a lot of our rules come from things that came from the community. Um, let's cite Apple in this case. Apple has a very bad habit of people putting things in their app store, just integrating in their phones, and not ever giving any money. Uh, and the fact that you can own a product and don't own a product, hashtag, what is it, right to repair? Hashtag right to repair. It's your stuff. You should be able to fix it. My big worry, and this was probably the largest one of all this nonsense, was the your ownership of anything you created for D&D could just be taken, according to this own new OGL. Legal went into detail and said, well, they can't. I don't know. I didn't read it. I'm not a lawyer, but at the same time, anytime that you put in a clause where we can go ahead and reprint your stuff without paying you is disgusting, which is how it felt. And that's kind of when I did that whole shouting match. If you watch that video and heard where they're like, go ahead and go on your tangent, I was like, no, Olarum is mine. Well, technically, I consider everybody's at this table and partially Taya's as well. The fact that they could just take that and reprint it with the names that it was given was upsetting to me. And I can't imagine creators that actually have the chance of that ever happening because let's face it, I'm tiny. But with how much time I've dumped into Olarun, how much money I've dumped into Olarun in this stream over the 2 or 3, 4, how many years has it been, Key, since I started creating Olarun?
Oh, like the map, for example.
Yeah, I created the original map. I hired an actual cartographer to make the map you see on the screen.
You're gonna have to give me a minute to look at the documents.
You're gonna have to look at the first group because they're the ones that's
Yep.
where it started. And I mean hours and hours and hours dumped into creating the lore and figuring out the names of the cities and the towns and figuring out distances and everything that goes into Olarun. Just being able to be lifted and reprinted because D&D says so is actually really upsetting to me.
I would call it extra upsetting because they would attempt that, even though Oleron has, and probably always will be, at least for the time being, a Pathfinder world.
And I know we're too tiny, but if we ever got big enough, they could. And I get it. Once again, you can't copyright a concept. They could totally lift all the rules that I made and just reword them and reprint them, legally speaking. But they could literally, with this, possibly steal the map that I paid for and I was the original creator of. And I still got the original map file. It is 32 gigs. I looked
It is
it
a
up
big map.
Yes.
Also, our very first session in Oleron was 08/22/2019, nearly 4 years ago.
Yep.
Wow.
So that's 4 years of my work. And some of Kai's work, because he's helped me with the documentation and naming things, work from players here that have added lore to the world that D&D could just, or excuse me, Wizard of the Coast could just lift. And I'm really not okay with that at all.
Thankfully, we were at least one point of separation away from D&D because we are a Pathfinder thing, but Pathfinder originated from D&D. So yeah.
Yeah, and as I
Yeah,
said, we're tiny, so
Yeah, but with every instance of the OGL, it's always attempted to sort of shoehorn in the clause of, we can negate the old OGL whenever we feel like, but only when we feel like. You guys are still beholden to it, technically.
Cox
and
gun.
yeah, so I
Yeah,
don't know.
that would basically endanger anyone and everyone working with any system that was built from the ground up using any sort of basis or foundation in 3.5 or anything that was under the
Pre-
original
pretty much
OGL.
pretty much anything D20 based.
Yeah. And also, that's another ridiculous thing. I think somewhere in the document at some point, they were going to try and copyright the fact that it was a D20 system, which is just impossible.
Yeah. And once again, it doesn't matter whether or not it's legal or not. It's whether or not the person can afford to fight it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a big deal. It was a big deal to this channel. It was a big deal to a lot of things because I'm not up for in the game of endangering friends and family. I will take a bullet, but that's me.
Um, random question.
Mhm.
Is D20 Modern a D&D
Yes.
product?
It's not a
Okay.
D&D. It's not a Wizard of the Coast product. D20 Modern, I believe, is a different. You know, we have the magic of computers and Google. Google, come hither, come hither, Google.
And Barris, yeah, you're right. The tabletop KOTOR games would also be hit because of their basis.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The fun fact about tabletop sim is they already got hit by Hasbro before for people putting things in the workshop. Who is a fantasy by Bill Slavic, Jeff Grubb, Rich Rendam, and the core rulebook was published by Wizards of the Coast in November 2022.
Okay,
Or
so it is a
2002
Wizard.
by 2006. Yes, it is. It is a Wizards of the Coast. It is part of the third edition rule set. Yep. So D20 at Modern would be gone.
Yeah.
So, no surprise at all, actually. I probably butchered those names. Sorry if I did. But
How dare? How dare?
how dare. I don't know. It's a situation I'm glad is gone. I'm glad that the bigger companies stood up and said no. I'm glad to see the community come together and say no. I'm glad to see them back down. But thank you so much for the follow. We're gonna have to keep our guard up because they tried it once.
I'm
And,
sad that it didn't go to court and they didn't get destroyed.
we'll see. They'll probably bring it back up again. Uh,
They'll probably attempt in another 5 to 10 years when they think everybody has forgotten.
yes.
Nobody will have forgotten.
Well, and I don't know.
Also, a high epic, bro.
Welcome to Epic, or welcome Epic. Welcome to the Epic. And yeah, it's a case of they tried it once, and Hasbro's putting pressure on them, and I don't. Hasbro does all sorts of nasty stuff. I think Wizards of the Coast has lost a lot of trust with this, and the worst part about it is that they talk so much about the community, but they were going to drop this on the community without talking to them first.
Yep.
Yeah, the fact that it was leaked is the only reason we ever heard about it.
Yep.
Before they just tried to drop it on us and a bunch of people had to scramble and probably get hit in the process. There was going to be a lot of crossfire. And I think that's the shadiest part. That should probably be the biggest note of this entire conversation. It was they talk about the community and the people that made their game, but they absolutely try to drop something on their community and the people that made their game.
And it should be noted that there's a bunch of people who do work for like Wizards of the Coast that do not agree with this shit. And they are part of the reason that we learned about the whole disaster piece that was the OGL revision attempt. And like, ugh,
Yeah.
like we can't equate all the employees of Watka with the board of directors and Hasbro who are pushing for it.
Well, we can thank whoever leaked it. So thanks, anonymous leaker. I hope you never get caught, and I hope you have a long life at that company making it better. As bad as this that leak happened, but you know, let's not screw communities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I know I have one more subject I need to touch on, which is the MTG situation. I need more water, and I need a moment. If you guys want to just generally talk while I BRB really quick, feel free to.
Okay.
Hey, chat, you're free to ask me questions about how I feel. Yeah. In the meantime, I will be right back.
Yeah.
Rawr.
Beerus, how do
How
you
do you
feel?
feel? Are you feeling hydrated? How do you feel about all your friends? The wonderful shitpost chat that we have.
Beerus is the treasure. But yeah, yeah. But yeah, I unfortunately am not going to be able to stick around much longer because, yeah, need to go deal with parental aggro.
That is a-okay, because we're going to take a break after this, do dinner and food things, and then we will be back later for one shot. Where you all get to
Also,
hunt terribly delicious abominations.
oh no. Also, know you, Beerus. You're the heckin' nerd.
Yeah, I can agree with that. The Beerus being a hecking nerd part.
Beerus is a nerd with grill marks.
I hear the sounds of bullying Abiris for calling us nerds when he's obviously the nerd. And we're doing all right now that OGL is dropped back to 1.0 and they folded. All right, let me touch on this subject too while we're here, and then we can end. Somebody did ask me why I'm pissed about the MTG thing, and why it was such a big deal that they're reprinting cards. So let me explain to you guys how small card shops make business and how they get their revenue, and their importance to the MTG community specifically, as well as all other card games. And I'm going to start with a real general question. How much do you think a card shop makes per case of MTG cards that they sell?
Maybe a couple bucks.
Nothing.
Oof.
MTG gets almost all of that revenue. Period. The pack prices are controlled. No matter where you go, the pack or the price of a pack of MTG cards is the same. So MTG shops and card shops in general only make money two ways. Two very specific ways. Through tournaments, which requires them pay a judge that is officially licensed and be officially licensed themselves to run these tournaments. And oftentimes they give up part of that revenue giving out prize packs, which cost them money, and reselling cards in the third party, technically their second party market. What MTG did, which was fine initially, they reprinted cards. Just generally, they put them in new packs. And that wasn't too big of a deal because a lot of these older cards with original seals on them and stuff still held somewhat value. Dropped a little bit, but it's not too bad. And I know that somebody that we interact with complained that, oh well, I was at a card shop and they looked it up online, and I feel that was weird, and they should have just. Here's the deal: the card prices really go up and down based on the meta, like ridiculously. It is literally easier just to double check the price because I've been at card shops and had that one guy walk up. Well, I can get this online for 50 cents. If you want to deal with that, open a card shop and do it your way. And you can come back at me. You know where to find me. I'm not gonna call him out by name though. But
I'm not really that well versed in MTG, but one card that I think is or at least at one point was freaking important was Black Lotus or something.
I will touch on that in a moment.
Okay.
Because this is where it gets complicated. So they started by reprinting them, and they started doing fancy things with the cards. And the shops went, okay, we can deal with this. Because the original card will always hold a little bit more value. So prices did drop a little bit. And it hurt mainly the third-party sellers like me who would value grab, or value trade, and value sell and buy. I'd buy cards I think would be great in the next meta, based on what I'm seeing as far as spoilers, and hold on to them and resell them. I actually made a okay amount of money. I ended up breaking even in most cases because I would just immediately go buy cards I wanted and value trade. So they started by killing the third party. Now enter COVID. And tournaments had to stop, and a lot of card shops closed down shop during the COVID thing. MTG isn't doing as many or authorizing as many tournaments anymore. You can see where I'm going. The big tournaments, a couple of them shut down completely. So that's one revenue stream starting to go down. Here's the other thing. They released a service where you can reprint any card for $35.
Wow.
On their website. If you use it, you're a piece of trash.
What?
Okay, so there's that. So now you can get cards reprinted. Any card you want, as far as I'm aware. I'm not sure the symbol on them because I haven't bought MTG cards and refused to for the last 5 years. Ever since they killed my ability to get better cards via value trading and doing what I did, because they definitely murdered me. Watching some of the cards I held on to drop in price was very painful. $1,000 deck suddenly only being worth $500 was definitely hurt. But let's touch on the last thing. Broken promises. Wizards of the Coast, I hate you right now. You did reprint the Black Lotus. I know it's not game viable, but you promised us, the fans, the people in your community, you would never reprint that card. As well as several others that were artists that have passed on that preserved their legacy, you said you would never print again. And now you have. I know they're not game legal, but you did do it. And you sold them at a very high markup. And I hope nobody out there bought that. Do not buy those collector sets, because they are reprinting things that they promised us they wouldn't.
Oh.
You said you would never reprint the Black Lotus. You have. Game legal or not, you have. And that's disgusting. And not only are you hurting us in the third party, and basically made us go away to a certain degree, you're hurting the people that make your game a thing. In the stores, the people that teach people how to play your game and help them be better at your game, you're hurting with the card reprinting nonsense and with the tournament restriction nonsense. With all the red tape that you've put up over the years that they've danced around. And then you're going to start really going after us by reprinting things that you promised us you would not. Including art from dead artists you promised to never print again. People who have passed on that you said, out of respect for them, you would not reprint. You have. You're disgusting. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I didn't even know the context behind that. I just knew that Black Lotus was one of those big cards.
There's only 13 known. They promised us they would never print it again, and now they have. And you can go and get the set. It is not a playable card. It is a specialty item. They can make all the excuses they want, but they reprinted it.
Hmm.
That is deeply infuriating.
And the whole reason behind it is because they're angry they're not making 100% of the money.
Well, in which
Oh,
case,
yeah, the
Waka just has to have their own singular location for a card shop, and every other card shop can do other things with other types of cards that aren't Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro.
Yep. As Lord Beer said, yep, they reprinted all of the Power 9, sold them for $100 packs that didn't even guarantee them, and yes, it's part of the Power 9 which all got reprinted. Wizards of the Coast does not care about its community or the players or the people that made its game. They don't care about the people who sell their product, make their game happen, facilitate it, and teach their game. They only care about the money. That's why the D&D sector getting hit was a big deal to me, because I was in the MTG community when all this hit and watched my investment just kind of disappear overnight, and know that it's going to continue. And friends of mine that were in the MTG space that did the value trading like I did, they lost a lot of money in this. It was pretty bad, and the shops are getting hit now.
And this it baffles me so much because these companies make so much money. They have so much money, but they're not satisfied because they don't have all the money. And I don't get it.
It is. It's disgusting, and that's literally the reason why I left MTG, and why I refused to give Wizards of the Coast my money, very specifically for MTG. And I'm never gonna buy a D&D product from Wizards of the Coast again because of this. They can burn their own bridges. I'm not gonna be a part of it. They broke promises. They've broken the OGL now. The OGL was a promise, and why don't I end on this note, since we're about 7 minutes out, of why the OGL is a thing and where it came from. Everybody here knows the names of the founders of D&D, correct? The creators.
It was Gygax and his buddies, wasn't it?
Gygax, Arneson, out of here, or out of Minnesota. Here, let me get up the official names according to Google because people get mad at me. Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. I've met Gygax once before he passed, but that was it. Dave Arneson I had the pleasure of playing at the table with more than once.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
He's DM'd games that I've sat at. He's an amazing man. Very amazing man. He had stories. So many stories about different games he's played with different DMs and different people. Would go to a store called The Source in Minneapolis a lot. Great place. And I have a favorite story from Dave Arneson that he told me once about the way that games should be. And a preface it to this, that his quote was that 4 people should sit at a table with a module and play the game 4 times with each person taking a position as the DM, and the game should go differently. And a story that he told me that I absolutely loved about him sitting at a table and playing a game that somebody had created was the purple Oh I Better Not. And I think I've told you guys this, but I don't know if I've told Stream
yeah.
this.
Oh, I've heard about this.
The purple Oh I Better Not. He was playing in a world, and he had all this lore about this world where dog people, I think it was a sci-fi adventure, there's these dog people with a certain name and came from this very particular planet and such like that. In this world, purple things were bad. Purple things were indestructible, couldn't be hurt by magic or arrows or guns or all these other things, so they're really bad. And the group that he was in came across Ring of 3 Wishes, and an evil genie popped out and demanded that they make a wish. And they argued with themselves about what to wish for because this genie was going to give it to them. So when the players finally spoke up and said, well, I wish for a purple Oh I Better Not. And off on the horizon, a giant beast appeared and started rushing towards them, and the group panicked. The mages all threw out every single spell that they had. Didn't affect the thing, it's still charged. The archer threw out every arrow that they had, tried to hit it. Didn't affect them. It got all the way up and they're all ready for melee combat, ready to die. And the creature goes, "Oh, I better not," and walks away.
Huh.
The reason why I like that story and the reason why I preface it with 4 people should sit down at a table and the game should go 4 different ways is that's the beauty of these games, is that they're created by the community, and that was a bunch of homebrew rules that somebody just made up.
Interesting.
He just decided purple things were bad in this particular universe, and that's how D&D started, was a binder of ideas and ways to fix broken parts. And even when I started playing, our DM had a binder he called the approved DM list, and if we proposed a character with a class, he would print off that character class, throw it in the binder, and if we made an adjustment to a rule and home ruled something, he'd cross out that rule in his binder and update it by hand. And it's something I actually have in one of my closets, is the binder that I started to assemble when I first started to DM. And that's what D&D is, and that's what they did. D&D started off as people sitting at a table, building a game, and throwing in a binder. Wizards will never own that, and should never own that, and should they ever try again, we should blast them and destroy them, because D&D is a name. The games that are created from D&D and the ideas belong and come from this community. And we can make up whatever we want as long as it works and everybody enjoys it. And D&D can never own that. So I say fuck Wizards of the Coast. Send them off. They're done. I don't think we should support their products anymore. I don't think we should do any of that. I don't think they can make it up to us. I know Joe Cat said, it's going to take them a while to rebuild our trust. No. I say no. At all. You've already proven more than once that you're after money. This game belongs to us. Not you. Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax created this game for fun. You didn't create this game. They created it and they shared it with the world. You're not going to take that away from us. Inspirational speech over. So, yep, there's my thoughts. Stop playtesting D&D with running games at the company because they didn't want people playing games in the company time. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me that they would have done that. I'm actually surprised that they allow anybody to play test it, because if they went the Nintendo route, you said anything negative, they'd probably come after you. Anybody got any closing thoughts other than me? I think I've said what I have to say about everything Wizards of the Coast at this point.
I think that you came pretty close to being able to mic drop. So, but yeah, and I unfortunately have to get going here, for a little bit.
Yeah, we're closing out, so.
Yeah.
Viv, Key? Final notes?
Meow. Meow.
I had words, but I've lost them.
I'm sorry.
Also, is Viv alive? Viv, are you alive?
We might have lost to Viv. He might be in his
Darn
game.
it. Darn
Maybe I drove Viv to... No, Viv doesn't cry. He just gets angrier.
This is true.
Yeah.
Am I creating my own system? I actually do have my own system. It's called the Note Card Games. Something I developed specifically so I could become a better DM. Everything fits in a note card. It's silly. It's silly.
Oh dear.
But let's go ahead and close this out. We'll go ahead and switch over and prepare for D&D. Vari can go deal with family obligations. Viv can return back to the land of the living.
Hopefully.
He'll be back.
But yeah, Taiga usually starts streaming around 5-ish, so
Yeah.
hopefully you could maybe do the... Oh, hi, you started streaming here, have a raid type thing, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're a little bit out, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and close out. I'm gonna not raid you guys actually because I want you guys to come back in about an hour to this channel. Key is being wonderful and fantastic and doing a one shot for us tonight, so we'll be back in about an hour. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining this rant. If you're over in YouTube land, hit that like and subscribe button, leave a comment, tell me what you think, tell me if I'm wrong somewhere. I will debate you. Well, maybe I won't debate you. Maybe I'll just forget to comment for a while like I've done before.
Dang it.
Otherwise, come over here to Twitchland, hit that follow. Thank you so much for joining, and y'all have a wonderful day.
Wait.
Bye.